And last we left our heroes, Frodo fell down a bunch, Gimli was short and it was funny, and Andy Serkis got snobbed an Oscar nod.
Banana! I'm the thief! It's mine! I won it! It was me!
Wait, okay, hold back. Metatextuality makes things even more complicated. And you know what? Regarding these movies, we could go on for hours and hours and years about all of their influences and all of the outcomes, and there's a lot to go through. But Return of the King, it's really long. And when we're talking about market, the length of the film is pretty relevant, so I'm gonna pick up where I left off. Last week, we talked about The Lord of the Rings and its impact on genre, but that wasn't its only impact. Before Lord of the Rings, it was pretty unheard of that you would film 3 gigantically budgeted movies to be staggered over 3 years at the same time. Now, with the right marketing strategy and the knowledge that it's a pre-existing property, it's kind of a thing. Lord of the Rings was unique in that they were all shot together from the start, which tends not to be the case. They usually wait till the franchise gets off the ground and then film 2 or 3 at the same time. It's odd to think that we live in a world now where sequels, especially to beloved fantasy adaptations, are guaranteed to make more money. That was seldom the case before. And they're also longer, and that recognizing a brand to a property you're familiar with is more important in franchising than anything, really. Obviously, there are 2 stars colliding in this story. It wasn't just Lord of the Rings, but the key here to these adapted franchises is the recognizability to the consumer. These 3 movies, especially Return of the King, normalized the 3-hour movie.
I'm the king of the world!
Before this trilogy, 3-hour movies were the exception, not the rule. Then this incredibly long monstrosity comes along, and 3.5 hours, Return of the King was the only one of the 3 movies to be the top-grossing film of its year. The other 2 only came in second. And why have long movies? After all, a really long movie reduces the number of showtimes you can cram in any given day. Then again, a really long movie also drives out any incentive or time to see the competition. Just saying. Alright, so we got 6 hours of movie behind us and a whole bunch of plot threads to wrap up in this, so the longest and the most peopled of the 3 movies. Let's see where it takes us. Return of the King is the end of the trilogy and all the stuff gets wrapped up and some doesn't. It is a much more faithful adaptation than The Two Towers, but long as it is, a lot of threads just get dropped utterly in the theatrical cut. Like Eowyn's relationship to Aragorn. We haven't talked much about her yet, but she's coming. He dumps her and then that's that.
It is but a shadow and a thought that you love. I cannot give you what you seek.
They introduce Gothmog, the big bad elephantiasis orc who ostensibly is in charge. I don't like him, but he only gets an ending in the extended cut. The extended cut of Return of the King is really, really long. It's creeping up on 5 hours. But I mean, it's good. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. It's probably just best to look at it like a mini-series rather than a really, really long movie. Most of what got cut was minor character stuff. Faramir's best stuff is all in Return of the King, and a lot of that gets relegated to the extended cut. There's a scene between Faramir and Pippin that I really like.
I didn't think they would find any livery that would fit me.
Once belonged to a young boy of the city. A very foolish one, who wasted many hours slaying dragons instead of attending to his studies.
This was yours.
It also makes his later attachment to Faramir make more sense. And like half of Eowyn's scenes get pushed into the extended cut. Again, we'll get to her in a minute. Oh, but Saruman. Sorry, dude. Saruman in the theatrical is just like, whoop, he's out of the movie. Bye!
But there is a wizard to manage here, locked in his tower.
And there Saruman must remain.
Originally, this was not the case, and Saruman was going to have, an ending. But we only see that in the extended cut. So I don't blame Christopher Lee for being pissed about his treatment in the theatrical. But on a somewhat related note, Christopher Lee is kind of a badass. Did you know this guy was a secret agent in World War II? His mother was a Contessa, 6'5", still doing action scenes in his 80s and 90s, speaks a bunch of languages fluently, and was the only member of the cast and crew to actually meet Tolkien. And I'm pretty sure is also like a literal vampire, and that's how he stays young. Yes, I know you wanted to play Gandalf, Chris, but damn, you really are perfect in this role.
We
must join with him, Gondor.
A part of that decision was because Christopher Lee was too old to play Gandalf, while Ian McKellen was a spry 60. His words, not mine. But you know what? I think when the news eventually does break that Christopher Lee has died of old age, I think we can take that as code for went back to home planet. Or went into his coffin to sleep for 100 years to regain power. I buy it either way. So, speaking of dropped threads, there's a lot of this in this movie, so, what up, Faramir? How did your subplot end in the last movie? I forget.
You know the laws of our country. The laws of your father. If you let them go, your life will be forfeit.
What, thou shalt hand over rings of power if thou should happen to run a... Never mind.
If you let them go, your life will be forfeit.
Or I guess your life isn't actually forfeit at all. That's cool. Yeah, we're gonna just completely ignore that line in the next movie. Like, why throw that in there at all? Like, why throw that line in there at all? Just have it be...
If you let them go...
Your dad will be really pissed. Let him be pissed. And I like Faramir a lot more in this movie. His more compelling story was always in the third book, but his father, the increasingly crazy-fying steward of Gondor, Denethor, sends him on a suicide mission because he's bitter that the beloved son died instead of Faramir.
You wish now that our places had been exchanged. That I had died and Boromir had lived.
Yes.
And no, this does not count towards this.
If you let them go, your life will be forfeit.
Faramir goes on the suicide mission of his own free will. Gandalf even tries to talk him out of it.
Do not throw away your life so rashly.
But he could have said no, and he didn't. Does not apply to this stupid bogus line. Denethor, the steward of Gondor. He's not the king.
The line of kings failed. The rule of Gondor was given over to lesser men.
Yeah, that's also kind of an iffy concept in The Lord of the Rings, and you see this a lot, this idea of this genetic stock is inferior to this genetic stock because reasons and divine right and yada yada yada, coded Arabs and Asians are the bad guys. Hail Britannia! But I love the shit out of John Noble, like, you know, in general. He has a penchant for intense Shakespearean roles, and he plays Denethor cray.
Abandon your post! Flee! Flee for your life!
Such to the point that his intensity is so much that Peach felt the need to break it. Honestly, okay. Denethor is pretty much the batshit craziest role outside of Gollum, which of course makes him one of my favorites. Although it does make it kind of awkward when he dies because, you know, Gandalf f***ing kills him. Hey, guys, we could, like, drag him off that pyre right now? Like, yeah, he's still okay. I guess not.
So passes Denethor, son of Ictharion.
He sure does. He passes all the way into the courtyard, and then into the quad, and all the way down, like, 500 meters away off over this cliff. I mean, for f***'s sake, I'd have a hard time making that sprint not immolated. Incidentally, that shot got a huge laugh at the midnight showing I was at in 2003. Oh, I remember. But the real set piece of this movie, more than the other two, are the battles. This one is so much more the war movie, and the battles start early and they go long. So fortunately there are a lot of emotional threads going on here, or else why care about 3 hours of battles? Eowyn and Theoden, Faramir and his father, Gandalf and Pippin, Merry and Pippin, Eowyn and everyone. It is high fantasy, and while there are some elements that are kind of simplistic to the point of being irrelevant to us in the real world, like the bad guys being irredeemably, irrevocably, genetically just evil, it still deals with a lot of complex themes. Issues of loyalty under a leader who's losing his mind, of the truest sacrifice for your friends and loved ones, how to deal with your friends' violent outbursts.
That's a filthy lie!
So you need stakes in order for us, the audience, to care about all this action and fighting and stuff. So let's take a look at our breeding pair.
This is a dream.
Then it is a good dream. Oh, the burning passion. The two towers, we see what's at stake with Aragorn and Arwen, and how she may like him a lot, but he is gonna die, and she's not. And the funny thing is, especially when you get to the extended cut, you kind of get the impression that Aragorn's just not that into her.
It was a dream, Arwen. Nothing more.
Or Eowyn, for that matter. He's just not really into anyone. But we gotta find a way to keep Arwen in the narrative and get us some stakes in there, so are you ready for some bullshit?
I come on behalf of one whom I love. Arwen is dying.
What? Why? No, seriously, what? What? In the book, it's Aragorn, you had better be the king of men to be worthy of my daughter, but just dying.
The life of the Eldar is leaving you.
And the cure for this is beating Sauron, winning the war. Apparently, because she shows up at the end after 3 hours of not being in the movie at all. Like, I'm fine, let's get married. Your reward has come. And while we're in forced peach conflict territory, let's talk about Sam.
Crumbs on his jacket says he took it!
Huh, that wasn't in the book.
You stinking two-faced snake! Sam! Bobby! Stop it! Ow! Sam!
That really wasn't in the book.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to go so far. I was just so angry.
Isn't that what people in abusive relationships say? Okay, Sam and Gollum, both in the book and in the movie, have an antagonistic relationship from the word go. But it doesn't really manifest past some justified mistrust in the book. The worst thing Sam does to Gollum there is call him a stinker. In the third movie, Sam starts getting violent. Like really violent.
Sam! Bobby!
Okay, in the Two Towers, yeah, I can see the violence. He is kind of biting you. Here, yeah, a little iffy. He was completely defenseless, but I guess you did overhear him plotting your demise, so fine. But his most violent outburst in all 3 movies comes from being accused of stealing food.
He took it!
And then boom, goes all Chris Brown on him.
Oh, stop it!
Wow, yeah, Frodo, I would send Sam away too. He is clearly an unstable person who will probably snap on you somewhere down the line.
I'll get him!
See, the thing is with this little bit of forced peach conflict, in order to make it make sense for Frodo to send Sam away at all, you have to push Sam so far away from his starting place that he's practically not the same character anymore.
Go home.
Or at the very least has some terrible anger problems that are never addressed. I personally think the reason that the forced peach conflict has become such a distinctive and easy to identify thing is the fact that Peter Jackson hasn't directed anything that was not an adaptation since before Heavenly Creatures. The closest thing would be District 9, which he neither wrote nor directed. He's become a sort of auteur of adaptation, and oddly enough, the book that he adapted that was the most faithful to the source material was The Lovely Bones, which everyone hated. So I'm not saying he's bad at adding conflict for the sake of adaptation. Clearly he isn't. Clearly he's very good at it. He's made a career out of it. It's just sometimes the conflict he adds is a little over the top.
Bobby! Stop it!
Yeah, so let's talk about Eowyn, who I think they actually did a really good job with in the extended cut. In the Two Towers, she just sort of pines for Aragorn and wishes she could go off and fight, and she doesn't really do anything until Return of the King, where she decides to fake being a man so she too can ride into battle, and she sneaks Merry in with her. And in doing so, they basically sneak around this loophole in this prophecy that says no man can kill the Witch King of Angmar.
You fool! No man can kill me.
I am no man.
Cliche? Yes. Awesome? Fuck yes. So while it is nice to have at least one lady presence in an army of sausage, and I honestly find her story and performance very compelling, especially in the extended cut, Eowyn at the end just kind of gets shoved off on Faramir, which... And, behold, I will be a shield maiden no longer, nor vie with the great riders, nor take joy only in the songs of slaying. I will be a healer, and love all things that grow and are not barren. No longer do I desire to be a queen. I'm gonna settle. You know who she should have ended up with?
I'm ready. Sorry.
The relationship between Eowyn and Merry is way better set up than Aragorn and Arwen, and certainly Eowyn and Faramir. I mean, look at these two. She helps him prepare for battle. She believes in him.
You should not encourage him.
You should not doubt him.
They ride into battle together. They bond over love for their friends. They slay the Witch King together. If an elf and a human can get together and breed, why not a hobbit and a lady? That's all I'm saying.
You are fair and brave and have much to live for. And many who love you.
That is not subtext, that is text. Even in the book, the Faramir thing is just kind of jammed in there at the last second. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I like them both as characters, and Faramir's a nice guy. He's a lover, not a fighter, but come on. Stupid, rigid societal expectations. This is a pure love.
Ride with me, my lady.
A lot of Eowyn's subplot got pushed into the extended edition, which is kind of a shame because she's got a lot of compelling and interesting stuff. But in the context of the whole trilogy, it's not a lot of payoff. Her real arc is pretty much only in movie 3, and you've still got a lot of threads from movies 1 and 2 left dangling. So in a way, that strength about movie 3 turns into a weakness. You introduce new compelling stuff, but end up having to cut it because you have to tie up dangling threads from 1 and 2. Or not. Yeah, oh my god, I've got so much crap to get through in so little time. Hey!
Did you really just spend most of this review defending your one true ship?
It wasn't most of the review, no. I mean, like, I spent all this time complaining about, like, shit they did end up changing. We were saying there's something they should have changed, and, like, in terms of the screenplay, things actually being set up well, where it is in this case and not in others.
Yeah, what was that about you still having a lot to actually get through to wrap it up?
Wait, where have you been in the last 2?
I was in the last 2. Oh, but I'm in the extended cuts.
Does that mean this is an extended cut?
Yep.
Well, aren't extended cuts usually cut in half?